Hey love, what's up? Welcome to Confidently Uncomfortable. I'm your host Jago, health and lifestyle coach and not so regal confidence queen. Coming at you with the real, the raw, and of course, the uncomfortable. My mission is to show you that to be confident, it has absolutely nothing to do with being perfect or having it all together, and everything to do with you getting uncomfortable and pushing your limits. Thanks for joining me. Let's dive in. I am hosting a Go Confident webinar. I'm going to be live, being able to get in there and talk with you all about how to cultivate confidence through the right routines and rituals that you can actually stick with. I'm so excited. I want you to join. It's going to be on Wednesday, February 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You have to register to get in there. And if you register now, you're going to get access to my free Cultivating Confident journal prompts. So go ahead and click the link in my show notes and I'll see you there. Guess who is nervous and sweating and shaking right now because I'm going to be talking about my relationship? Me. I am. I'm going to be really open and honest with you because I think it is so important to get the deeper connection that you're craving in your closest relationships. So I'm referring to your partner, your person, your significant other. Like, that is who you're craving that connection with, and we want that deeper connection, and there are ebbs and flows to everything. So today I'm going to be talking about that, but hold up. All my single ladies, hashtag single and sufficient. If you don't watch New Girl, go watch it, but you're amazing, and this is still for you. So I do not want you to tune out like, I don't want to listen to this, like whatever. Like, this is still for you, whether you are or are not seeking a relationship. You will benefit from this episode just because of the acts of finding that deeper connection with the people that you feel closest with. So I will use interchangeably like partner, husband, person, best friend, whatever, like Tom, that's my person. So I don't care who you love. I just want you to feel that deeper connection. So that is why I am creating this episode. That's why I'm going into this, and it's why I'm going to be super vulnerable with you guys. Hey mom, if you're listening, you can listen to this one. It's fine. But what I'm going to be talking to you guys about, the ways to go into getting deeper connection with your partner, with your person. And I will be giving you some real life examples, some things that I've gone through. So I figured I would start with my background with my relationship. Okay, big breath. All right, here we go. So Tom and I are high school sweethearts. If you didn't know it, now you know. If you don't know, now you know. Can you tell I'm nervous? Not really. I love this man, but let's talk about how I met. So we met when we were in high school, and again, if this wasn't you, don't worry. Like, I just want you to get a background from where I'm coming from, because I never want you to feel like I'm coming in here and being like, I know everything. Like, I'm 20 something years old. Like, come on, I'm not gonna kid myself. But I do have a lot to share. So we met in pre-calculus class. What's up, Mr. Zappia's pre-calculus class? I had a huge crush on him, and we were study buddies with us and a few of my friends, including my brother, and he was on the football team. And oh my gosh, like, he was a year younger than me, so that was a thing. But it was, I really, really liked him and wanted to pursue him before he even like realized any of these things. And it's just so funny looking back. But we finally started dating. Like, I'm so happy that we did. But it was a high school relationship, and it was something that when I went into it, like, I'm not a hopeless romantic. I mean, I am. I'm obsessed with like rom-coms, but I also like come from a product of divorced parents. So I'm very much so like, okay, like we're like sick. I'm 15, 16, whatever. And it's probably not going to last. So it'll just be a summer thing. And lo and behold, like 10 years later, well, almost 11 years later, we are together, we're married, we're happy. So how did we get from that point to where we are now? So communication and deep connection. We would not be where we are now if we did not have that deeper connection, if we did not go through the things we went through together. And so sometimes
when you are looking for that deeper connection, you're assuming, it can be easy to assume like, okay, well, my relationship doesn't look like the ones I see on social media. Mine does not look like the ones that I was taught watching the princess movies and Disney. Like, I don't understand. Like this must be broken. Like, you're going through a phase where you're like struggling with them and you assume like, okay, it's done. Like it's over. And I want to reassure you that in my decade of being with the same person, we have gone through so many different phases of our relationship and levels to which we love each other. So what I mean by that is when we first started dating, we were super young, and I mean, I loved him. Like, absolutely, he's the first and only like man outside of my family that I've truly like loved. And it was love at the time, but that continued to develop and change as we went through things together. So you're in the start of a relationship and you're feeling like, I think this is the relationship I want to continue with, and I'm just struggling with that connection. Like, it is possible to create that new definition of love, that new connection that you didn't know you had with each other. It just takes time and figuring out if you're both able to communicate what it is that you're looking for. And I'm not saying that it's perfect. Like, okay, you should definitely just keep trying. There are times where you might need to step away from a relationship and put yourself first. And I absolutely commend you for doing that. So if you have had to do that in the past, or you're currently doing that, like, I'm so proud of you, and you are so strong, and you're only going to come out stronger on the other end. And the same goes for relationships. You might be going through a rough patch right now. And the truth is, if you both really push to connect deeper through the hard times you're going through, you will come out on the other end stronger. You will learn more about that person, about y'all's love and relationship, more than you ever thought possible. And so that's kind of the things that Tom and I experienced, because I went through a lot of family stuff as we started dating. It was so interesting, like how immediately, like my, and I'll have my dad on my podcast soon, maybe for Father's Day, but he had gone from doing really, really well to losing his job and actually having to lose his house. And I remember, like, this was even before Tom and I were dating, but like the first person I wanted to call was him. And so having that person that you know that you can reach out with and call, that is like how you can really connect with them deeper. So we weren't always happy-go-lucky. We were connecting through some of our hardship and pain too, and helping to build each other up and get each other stronger. And so that open communication is a huge part of connection, and it's something that helped us grow to where we are now. We went through, so flash forward, we both went to separate schools, separate colleges. He was younger than me, so we were long distance for 5 years. And I mean, that takes a lot of communication too. That was a whole different level of our relationship. It was not easy. I thought, like, I still talk to people, and a lot of times my thing is like, no, don't go to college with a relationship. Don't do that. And like, I'm such a hypocrite because Tom, literally, we were together throughout that experience. But there were so many things I learned about myself and about us that we had to discover in order to continue to grow and stay together. So, and I'll kind of break it down for you so that you can bring it back and apply it to yourself. But I do want to give you the background. So like when we were long distance, I mean, that physical communication that you have when you're like going through a fight, you don't get that reassurance of like a hug or like the look of like it's going to be okay or anything. So it can cause you to question things. And so if you travel a lot with work, or you are in a long distance relationship, or you're just feeling distant from your relationship, like there are other ways to connect that aren't physical connection. And that is going to be figuring out like the ways you can communicate with each other outside of that. And so we had to, thank God, I think Skype was like just becoming a thing or whatever. We didn't have FaceTime or really nice smartphones. Tom had limited text messaging. Like we used to I would bullet point things I was going to talk about on our phone call in college. And that way we could talk about it after 9 because we had free minutes after 9. So that's just aging myself right now. If you can't relate, you don't know what it was like. You didn't have it hard like us. Just kidding. But that was kind of the way that we had to learn new ways to communicate. And it's the same as a friendship. Like I talked about this in the last episode. And if you didn't listen to the part 1 of this with friendships, like I talked about, definitely go back and listen. But I talked about the importance of being open and being vulnerable and like connecting with yourself as well. And that was something that I had to learn in my own relationship. So the first part of that deeper connection is if you're seeking that, is to check yourself. So, like being able to express that self-love and self-care and constantly checking in with you. And it is so important because sometimes you can get really wrapped up in a relationship to where you're constantly seeking approval from that other person. And when you look deeper, it's actually that you are lacking approval in yourself, right? So I struggled so much. I mean, think about the vulnerable years of like your teens. I went through that, struggling to feel worthy and comfortable in my own skin and constantly needing affirmation in the relationship that we were okay and that we were going to last. And like, God, I feel like I was so dramatic looking back. Like, good. Thank you, Tom, for putting up with me, still putting up with me, and vice versa. But it was so easy to constantly, like, I'm a recovering people pleaser. Like, that was me. I was a people pleaser. I was constantly catering to other people's needs, especially my partner. I mean, think about it. Like, you just want them to be happy. Like, you care about them so much. You're so in love. Sometimes it's like you are trying so hard to fix the relationship and trying so hard to, like, okay, like, we need to communicate better. Like, we need to talk more. We need to do this more. We need date night. We need blah, blah, blah. When what's really broken is you. It sounds crazy, but you might be going through something that you haven't checked in with. And so you're like, oh, I need to fix this relationship. I need to fix this. Something's broken. But the first step in that is to check in with you. Okay, so check in with yourself and find the affirmation in you outside of your partner. Like, it's totally fine to, like, I freaking love when Tommy, like, compliments me. Holy, like, that's a whole, I'll talk about love languages, but I love words of affirmation. Freaking tell me I'm beautiful, tell me everything. Like, I love it. But guess what? I didn't believe the words that he would tell me when I was growing up with him, because I didn't believe them myself. I didn't tell myself those things. So I struggled so hard. Like, I didn't see what he saw in me because I didn't see it in myself. So if you struggle to get those to take those compliments, if you struggle to find your self-worth, and if you feel like you're not taking care of you, like, that is the first step to feeling a deeper connection with someone else. Because if you still have all of these walls up inside, like, you are not going to be able to connect with that other person. So that vulnerability starts with you. So do a little check-in. I talked about this in the last episode to more depth, so I won't get too much in here, but do a check-in with yourself. Really make sure, like, figuring out what it is that you want, not just in a relationship, but for yourself in life too. You don't have to constantly be seeking for the next step in a relationship. Like, okay, like, I really want to get married and I want to have kids and I want to do this and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's great to serve your family and serve your husband, but there is a huge piece and a huge chunk of your life where you need to be serving yourself. Okay. And it's not selfish. I work with so many women. God, they just have such good hearts and they want their family to be happy and they want their kids to be happy and they want to help them. But they feel like if they try and help themselves first, that it's selfish. If they invest time into their health and go to the gym for an hour or go, like, hey, I need to take a break and go on a walk by myself, spend time by themselves, or take time away from their kids and spend time with their partner, like, they feel like it's selfish, but it's the absolute opposite of selfish. It is selfless, because down the road, you're able to pour in that love that you've poured into yourself into other people and do it with a whole heart and not just do it out of this expectation of, like, a role. I think a lot of times we can step in to the role of husband and wife, the role of boyfriend and girlfriend, girlfriend, I don't care. And we just feel like we have to serve that role. So we're doing the things because we feel like we need to do that. That was a big thing. Oh God, I'm getting real with this. So that was a big thing Tom and I had to work through, because when we were long distance, it was like he felt obligated. It was like the obligation of, like, we have to talk to each other every night. We have to do this. We have to do that. And, like, when it becomes an obligation, it stops feeling like it is real. It stops feeling like it's, like, a real connection. It stops feeling like it's, like, everything is out of love. It feels like it's out of obligation. And so sometimes we get caught in that robotic movement of, like, okay, well, I feel like I'm supposed to say these things. I feel like I'm supposed to do these things. Like, even with Valentine's Day, I feel like I'm supposed to do these things. Like, the truth of the matter is I freaking love getting flowers when it's from Tom, like randomly. I just as much love getting flowers when it's me getting them myself. So getting them on Valentine's Day is not any better than other days. So definitely do not try and do things out of obligation. So that's the first thing. So deeper connection, you got to check yourself first. The next thing, as far as getting a deeper connection with your person, is expressing yourself. So that's through communication, through love, through your emotions. Like, how do we express ourselves? So this is, there's a lot to this. So I'm excited. You're going to maybe want to take notes. Who knows? So as far as communication, obviously there's verbal and nonverbal communication. So making sure that you are able to communicate the way you're feeling. So sometimes we think that our nonverbal communication is adequately communicating how we feel, right? Like when we are saying like, I'm fine, and we shrug our shoulders, like we think that shoulder shrug is communicating, I'm not fine, help me, hey, like I need help, like make me, like talk to me. That is not true, okay? People receive things differently, and that communication might not be exactly what you're expecting. So find a way to maybe verbally communicate how you're feeling if you're struggling to do that. And if you need to take a step away and figure out what it is that you're feeling, then do it. You're allowed to step out of conversation and say, hey, I need to talk through this. And figuring that out is super important. Now, as far as love, so communication's huge. And then also like how we express love, how we give and receive love. So we'll be jumping into the 5 love languages. This was a big thing for Tom and I, and he always jokes about it because it always comes up in conversation. He's like, what's your love language? Even though we know each other's, but he just makes fun of me because I made him take this quiz when we were freaking, oh gosh, I think we were freshmen in college. Like, y'all, we were like 18. I was like, we need to learn our love languages. But for real though, it was very helpful. So let me talk through that a little bit as well. I'll tell you what mine are, I'll tell you what his are, and I'll tell you how that kind of goes into your life as well. And then finally, emotions. We all express our emotions differently, and we need to understand that and respect that. And there needs to be some kind of common ground, because a lot of times we are like, it's like one person is doing an interpretive dance, the other person is doing a quiet ballad in the corner, and it's totally different way to express ourselves, but they're both valid. And so, and even if you don't understand, like, why is that person doing an interpretive dance? That is weird. That's not art. That's not expressing yourself. The other person might feel the same way about you. So being open to different forms of expression is so important when you're in a relationship and when you're connecting with that person. So, all right, expressing yourself. Let's break it down. With communicating. So when you are communicating something, there are so many things that you need to communicate. And like I said, it's not always the best to do verbals. I mean, to do nonverbal. So to just do like how you're feeling through your emotions. Now, it's great to read other people's verbal things, like if they're expressing how they are, or nonverbal movements to see how they're doing. But making sure that when you're communicating, you're doing it in a loving way. So instead of attacking someone, use terms like, I feel like this, like I feel this way when you do this, I feel this way, because first of all, like, you don't know how the other person's perceiving what they're doing. So do not go into the assumption mode, do not go into the attack mode, because that is only going to make the other person recoil and not want to feel safe. Like, I always want my partner, I always want Tom to feel safe expressing himself. So in the past, if he said something, like, it's hard to get things out of him, but when he'll finally say something, I would immediately go into this defense mode, right? Like, I'm super sensitive, so I would just go like, no, I'm not, like, I'm not that way, blah, 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 blah. And like, me immediately putting up this like defense mode, he's like, in his mind, think about it registering like, oh, I shouldn't bring this up and be honest about this because she's not going to take it well and she will take it back out on me. And so I have had to learn to have these emotions, but still be willing to listen, right? And so I listen first, even if I'm feeling hurt, even if I'm feeling like I'm struggling to take in what he's saying, I need to listen first so that I can really take in, like, what is he really saying? Like, he might be upset about, okay, here's the example time, dishes. Like, he might be upset that I didn't clean. And that is what I'm hearing, is that so when he says like, oh, like I wish we were able to clean up before we left on our trip. I'm pulling this one out of my butt, but this does happen. And I immediately would go into defense mode and be like, in my head, that means you're not a good wife. You are not doing enough for this family. Like, you are a disappointment. Like, it's so easy to let all of those insecurities take in. And here's the thing, if I just listen to that, the thing is on the other side is he's feeling that he's always the one that's cleaning up. He's always the one that is picking up after me, whatever it is. So like, there are two sides to that communication. So having to find a compromise of what that is, and we have, like, I felt like because I was cooking all the time and cleaning, it just felt like a lot. So we were able to do things together, and now we turn on music and we clean together, and it takes half the time, and it's way more fun, and I feel loved and supported. And so does he. He doesn't feel like he's taken advantage of for him being my like maid, which he is amazing at, by the way. So that's a really good way to communicate that in a way that's loving. Now we're going to talk about sex. So sex expectations. When you are, I don't know if you went through marriage counseling or not. I don't know if you need a little refresher, but we come into it with lots of different sex expectations, with what we're expecting in the relationship physically. And then we also come in with different expectations of like rules in an environment. So I'll just start with sex because that's fun. So you might come into a role where you're expecting to be physical more often than the other person, or vice versa, or just different ways that you expect that physical need to be expressed. And if you're not open with what you want and you're not receiving to what the other person wants, then it's just not going to work. And so like, that is something we've been able to develop more and more as we've grown as a relationship. And it's been awesome. Like, it's made it so much better because you are expressing what you want, and then you're getting what you want, and it's great. And we do that not just with sex, with other things too. Like, if you're really needing something, like if I need affirmation, I will freaking ask for it sometimes. Like, this is what I need right now. This is how I'm feeling. And just because he's not always perceptive, because he has a lot of ish going on too, doesn't mean it's any less meaningful. So there's definitely things to both of that. Now, as far as roles and communicating those roles, this is important too. So we all come from different backgrounds, right? We all come from different backgrounds. And so you might go into a relationship where you grew up and maybe your parents were divorced like mine, so you didn't know how the fatherly role went in the household. Maybe you grew up and your mom was always the one that cleaned, or your husband, that was the case for them, or who cooked all the time, or who cleaned all the time, or who did the budgeting or whatever. Like, luckily, like, our world has changed to where like those roles can be a lot more interchangeable, and I'm very thankful for that. But it also can you can still come into a relationship with certain expectations. So I think it's super important to talk about that. So ask each other like what your life was like growing up and who did what, and then discuss like what you feel like your strengths and weaknesses are, because like there will be ebbs and flows like in the relationship where things might change. Like, I'm picking up slack with cooking right now because Tom is in school full time and I work from home, so it works for us and I enjoy it. And it's a way for me to show love that he receives very well. But that doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. I literally talked about it yesterday. I was like, just so you know, you're going to be cooking some more once you graduate. And he was fully understanding of that. And on the weekends, he does pick up the slack with that too. So the roles can be interchangeable, but they must be communicated. If you are going through something where like work is more crazy and you need some more help in that role that you were previously helping in the relationship, talk about it, okay? Because there's going to be times when they are going to need help too. And so by continuing to help each other, I think that that's huge. And one of my favorite questions, I think it was Mel Robbins that talked about this, was asking your partner, your person, how can I better serve you? And I know sometimes the concept of like being a servant to your husband or to your wife or whatever can seem, I guess husband is what it is in the Bible. It can seem weird, and I totally think that it can be blown out of proportion. Don't even get me started on that. But there is so much, there's so much trust. It's just a beautiful thing when you are able to serve that other person and do it in a way that is unconditional. So you're not doing it with any expectations. You're not doing it as a tit for tat, like, well, I scratch your back, you scratch yours, blah, 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 whatever, you know what I'm saying. And so being able to ask that question is so cool, because that might change throughout that person's life. Like, I might need to help my partner in a different way when they're going through different stuff, and same with him. And so when he's asking me that question, it's like, I might really just need him. Like, I don't want him to fix me. I don't want him to fix me. I just need him to be there for me. And that's it. Like, just sit there and listen. And he's so good at that. And I love that about him. But sometimes he needs that from me too. So communicating that is huge. And there's going to be ebbs and flows, and being understanding to that flexibility and the flow of the relationship is great. Let's get back to expressing yourself through love. So 5 love languages. I told you guys, I made Tom take the stupid quiz. There's a book associated with it. You can look it up. But it's really asking, like, how do you give and receive love? And so just real quick going through them, like, the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. And so those 5 are how people give and receive love, right? And so when we take the quiz, Tom is definitely acts of service and physical touch. I mean, definitely quality time is both of us, but those 2 are big for him. And then for me, mine is words of affirmation and quality time / probably physical touch as well. But definitely words of affirmation is a huge one, and definitely acts of service is a big one for him. And so that is something to take into account. We both receive love differently, right? And what's crazy is typically, like, the way you want to receive love is usually the way that you give love to others. So, like, for me, I love affirming people. I love lifting them up. I will tell you all day how you're going to slay, how you're doing awesome, how your outfit looks great, how you killed that presentation, how you did this, that, and the other. And, like, I freaking love being your hype man. And I'm like my husband's hype woman. Like, I freaking love it. Now, yes, he receives it, and yes, he loves it. However, like, just the terms like, I love you, like, to him, when I am doing an act of service where, like, I remembered to, I don't know, I got his dry cleaning done once, and he, like, freaking loved it because he, like, didn't even ask me, or, like, little things like that literally almost bring tears to his eyes, because, like, that, like, the fact that I, like, thought about him without him not even needing to ask means so much more to him, and that is love to him. Like, him hearing that is like, I love you, right? And for me, it's like, I need to hear it a lot more. I need the words of affirmation. I need you to tell me. And so he will be showing me in so many different ways, because that's how he receives love, right? Like, he receives it through acts of service. So he's doing all the things for me, and I appreciate it, but I still feel like I need to hear it, right? And so it's really interesting. So notice that about yourself. Ask yourself, how do I best receive love? And then, is that how I'm truly giving love? And then if you have that person, your person in your life, like, figure out what it is that they need, because you got to communicate what it is that you want, and then you got to show what you need, but then also show what they need. So if it is those certain things, like if it is physical touch and acts of service, like, make sure you're working through that, and then them understanding, like, okay, like, words of affirmation and quality time. Yeah. Like, those kinds of things are important, and being able to check in with that. So yeah, go see what your love language are. I think that was huge for us. Also, if you don't know what your, like, Enneagram is too, like, the Enneagram test is awesome, because you can just figure out, I mean, that's with any relationship. Don't ever pin anyone into a box, but it does definitely help you see the other side of someone else. So I hope that helped with the love. Now, as far as the last bit of expressing yourself, it's through your emotions. So that's the good, bad, and the ugly. And that's, like, you're going to see them all. You're going to see all sides of you, and having someone that you can show all sides with, there's beauty to that, but then it's also hard, because sometimes the people you love the most are the ones that you have the ability to hurt the most, right? Like, you know how they tick, you know how to get in their skin, you know everything about them, and the good and the bad, and I mean, you've been super vulnerable with that person, and sometimes, like, you can take that out on them more, and you can get hurt more a lot, right? So it doesn't mean you need to go, like, continue to keep up walls for relationships to keep yourself safe, because that's not the solution. The solution is not building more walls. The solution is not closing down and refusing to express yourself and how you're feeling. The truth of the matter is explaining, like, hey, like, I'm feeling this way because, and I highly recommend you ask yourself that first. So if you're struggling if you have a lot of emotions going on through a relationship, if you're going through a hard time, whatever, like, before you take it out on the other person, don't take it out on yourself, but I want you to come back and have some introspection, get introspective with yourself and figure out like why, like I feel this way because why am I feeling this way and what is a solution? What do I need? And if you don't know the full solution, that's okay, but definitely ask yourself that first. So then when you're coming into a conversation, you can express those emotions in a better way, in a way that's going to help you grow from them instead of a way that's just going to tear each other down, because it's very easy to tear the other person down. And so when it comes to emotions, like Tom and I, we communicate differently, we love differently, we have different emotions, right? So example is the way that we fight. Okay, so we fight a lot differently. Yes, we fight, guys. It happens. Like, let's go back to the dishes example because it's the only one that always comes up. We really don't fight about anything else, but that one's huge. And the emotion side of things is like, I'm very defensive. I'm very, I feel my emotions. I'm very vocal about them. I'm very loud, and I'm like very immediate. So like if I feel a certain way, I'm like, I'm going to get it all right now. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. You're going to hear it all and it's going to be crazy. And like, here you go. Here it is. And now I need you to tell me how you feel. Like immediately. Tell me now. Tell me. And that is me to a T. And I have learned so much from being with my partner who is more, God, he's so patient. He's so slow to anger, but he's also slow to speak. So there's so many pros about him that I could just see the cons and be like, he won't tell me exactly how he feels right away. Like he doesn't want to talk through the conversation immediately, or like the whole go to bed angry thing, whatever. And the thing is like he processes things differently. So he needs to take 24 hours or probably less than that, but let's say 24 hours to process what we were talking about, to hear my side, to take it all in, to think about how he wants to speak about the situation. And when we were first dating, that would really bother me, right? So I was like, why does he do this? Blah, blah, blah. And then on the same other side of things, like me immediately like word vomiting on him wasn't great for him either. And so the way that we were able to better express our emotions was finding common ground. Neither of us really changed how we express that much with that. Like we still do both of those ways, but we found common ground and understanding. So I am going to get it all out. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. I'm going to word vomit and he's going to listen. And then I'm going to respect the fact that he listened, but I'm going to give him space to take that all in. And it's hard for both of us because he has to sit there and listen to a lot of my shit. But I'm going to sit there and let him walk it off, do whatever he needs to do, take some time away. And that makes us come together in such a more powerful way. And the other thing that's cool about that is like we have that process, but it doesn't mean that we like don't stop being together, because like he's my best friend. So I'm still gonna like pick him up a Chipotle bowl, even though I was pissed at him, and like bring him dinner, and like he's gonna do the same for me. Or he might, God, I don't remember what he did. I think he like filled up my car with gas when I was like freaking pissed at him. So it's like that is unconditional love. And I think that getting to that point where I'm no longer afraid to express myself and be very vocal about how I'm feeling, because I know that no matter what, like we're stuck together, like we are in this together. And even if you have to come back, like even if you express yourself and you're like, man, I was a terrible person, I was so mean, I shouldn't have said that, blah, 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 like explain that, express that, and that's going to be really helpful because you're going to grow from that and learn from that. So always be open to learning. I'm always learning stuff about myself, and that really goes into our relationship too. Like I've learned more about myself in these past 3 years than I ever thought possible, including my strength, including my hardship, including how I tick, including how I run a business from my home, like how I thrive with that, how I struggle with that. And that has had to work through our relationship as well. And of course it impacts it, but we had to figure out like, how do we make that work? Like, how do we make this, as he's in school full time and I'm working my butt off, like, how do we communicate? How can we touch base? How can we feel connected? And that goes into my next point of growing together and solo. So if you try and hold someone else back and make them feel like they cannot do anything without you, they cannot be anything without you, if you feel someone doing that to you, that is not a healthy relationship. That is not growth. That is not connection. That is restriction. That is suffocation. That is not okay. So the thing is having the strength and the assuredness in your relationship that you can grow on your own and have your own passions and have your own things that you're working towards. And that's going to make you come together and grow even stronger and deeper because you're growing in yourself. Because if you refuse to grow because you think it's going to wreck your relationship, two things are going to happen. You're either going to kill each other, you're going to strangle each other by no growth, or the other person is going to grow and you're going to grow apart. But if you both continue to grow on your own, you will continue to grow together. I'm doing hand gestures, you just can't see them. But there's so much truth to that, and it's really what has helped me and Tom so much is like I went for 3 months to Australia for an internship, and he was super supportive of that. I even considered getting a job with Special Olympics and continuing that. It didn't work out, but when I told him that, his response was, "We'll make it work." When Tom got into PA school and I wasn't sure if I wanted to flip up my entire job and move, he said, "We'll make it work." Now, the beauty of that is him believing in our relationship enough, which he does that so much more than me, and it's amazing. Him believing in our relationship enough that he knows that like it is important for me to grow on my own and have my own self-confidence and my own passions because it makes us so much better as people. And so that is something to remember. That's something to continue to do. So if you feel like you're struggling to find your passion, if you feel like you've kind of lost it, or if you feel like you've stopped doing some of the things that you love just because that's not like something you both share, express that to the person and do it. It's okay if they don't want to do everything with you. Still need to do some things for yourself. Now, growing together, there's definitely going to be times where you want to have some times that you're doing things together. Like figure out what it is that you guys love to do together and do it. You can try something together and just be like, this doesn't work. Like Tom and I working out together, we definitely go to the gym together. People ask this a lot, so I wanted to mention it. We definitely go to the gym a lot together, but working out together, we can do abs together, which is like 10 minutes, 15 minutes together in the gym. Otherwise, we end up getting pissed off at each other. Something happens, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm a trainer, so I go into trainer mode and he doesn't need that. And it's very funny, actually. Oh, he also doesn't like doing like the same movements as synchronized swimmers, but he's willing to go to the gym with me and support me, whatever that is. So figuring out what it is that you need to do for yourself, figuring out what it is that you need to do together so that you guys continue to grow. Relationships are going to constantly change and develop. There are going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be hard times, good times, but if you are constantly growing, then it's okay. You're going to work through it and you're going to communicate it. So growth is huge for connection. You can't connect to something that doesn't grow. It's just not going to happen. And that's solo. You're not going to connect to something that doesn't grow on its own. So figure out what makes you feel the most connected and how can we do more of that? Ask each other that. So ask each other, like, first ask yourself, like, what makes me feel most connected to myself? And how can I do more of that? Then ask your partner, what makes us feel most connected? Like, what makes you feel most connected to me? And on the same page. And they might answer something. How can we do more of that? That is the next question. And so figuring that out and getting on the same page is going to be huge for you. And I highly recommend it. It's been so good for us. And it's really important with that growth. So with this, you might notice, bringing it all together in closing, you might notice that like there's a common theme. I'm always bringing it back to yourself. And because in my experience over the past decade of being in a relationship, I feel the best about us when I feel the best about me, right? It's crazy how that works. I feel very secure in our relationship when I feel very secure in myself. And so if you're struggling with that insecurity or if you're struggling with that connection, I want you to come back to yourself. I want you to invest time in yourself, invest money in yourself, invest whatever you need. That is something I teach my clients with Body Confident Blueprint. And that's something they learn and they come out of the investment that they make in themselves. They come out with stronger relationships, better sex life, great family connections, better communication skills with themselves and with others. And that is what I want for you. I want you to have that deeper connection with yourself because that is what I believe in with self-love. I think that a lot of times the world tells us that self-love is ego-driven and it's always like me, like my way or the highway. Like it's very like throwing elbows at other people and climbing the ladder. And that's like what you're supposed to do is only look out for number one. And when I speak about self-love, that is not what I mean. Like, I do believe that you need to put yourself first. I do believe that you need to put your needs first, but I also believe that it doesn't stop there. once you have found that love in yourself, I want it to be so overflowing with love and joy and happiness in your own life that you are able to pour so deeply and so richly into other people's lives and to the people you feel closest with and to the people you meet on the street and to everyone, because you are just so thankful for the life that you have, for the body that you have, for who you are as a person. And you feel so passionate about that you're able to express that to other people. That is my wish for you. That is what I believe that everyone has the ability to do once they're able to take a step back and start living life to where they're living for their best self and being their best self. So it is possible. Even if you feel stuck, you're not stuck. You can do this. I believe in you. And I appreciate you listening to all of this. I know it was a bit of a longer one. Definitely let me know time-wise what your opinions are about long versus short when it comes to podcasting. Nothing else. Don't tell me anything else. But I'm so glad that you could be here with this relationship. Here's the thing I just told you from the beginning. I don't know it all. I am in my 20s. I'm married. I've been with someone for over a decade, but that does not mean I know it all. Okay. So I'm never going to go into something assuming that I know exactly where you're coming from with your relationship, with your life, with anything. You can always learn from this, but just remember that it's your life and you have the ability to make those choices. So I'm so happy that you are taking the time to right now listen to this so that you can fill yourself up and feel really good. As you're going into the season of love, remember that it starts with you and then the rest falls into place. So I'm super proud of you for listening that, and I want you to just believe it more and more. Please make sure that you share this to someone that you care about and you love. Let them listen to it. Have these conversations, get vulnerable, get confidently uncomfortable, because that is how we grow. And I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again for listening to Confidently Uncomfortable. I love being able to connect with you here and honestly don't want it to end. So head over to my Facebook group, Body Confident Blueprint, and be sure to follow me on Insta at JGoFitLife. Also, if you're ready to get real confidently uncomfortable, go leave this podcast a 5-star review and email me the review screenshot, support@jgofit360.com, for a chance to win a free 30-minute fitness audit and goal setting session. I appreciate your support. See you next time.